Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for Monday, November 21st, 2016. Let's jump right into VR, guys. Start with some gaming preamble. Let's talk VR Sports Challenge from Sanzaru Games. It's being touted as a spiritual successor to Wii Sports. And whatever you think about Wii Sports, if you agree with its self-proclaimed title of third best-selling video game of all time, or believe that, it possibly got that due to being, bundled in with the Wii in all regions except Korea and Japan, you can't argue that a lot of units of that game moved. Over 80 million, to be specific. Obviously, Oculus Touch and Oculus at large would love that figure. Anything in the millions would be fantastic for Oculus. VR Sports Challenge, very much like Wii Sports, takes elements of the games rather than the full game. So, for example, in VR Sports Challenge, you've got hockey, basketball, and football. Let's take football, for example. The focus is merely on the quarterback-receiver dynamic as opposed to the defensive aspects of the game, the other offensive aspects of the game. So it kind of focuses on specific elements. It does the same in basketball. It does the same in hockey, but specifically bundled in for the Oculus Touch. Next up, another Oculus Touch title, a launch title, The Unspoken. Now this has a review up on Upload VR, 9 out of 10. Like I always say, take those and do some additional research, right? You never know. Don't take anybody's word for it right off the bat. They seem to love the game, though. Description, you basically select one of 3 wizard classes, and you engage in magic dueling against other wizards using hand gestures with the Oculus Touch controllers. You get one power move. It's like one power spell that you can use in each round of combat, which involves a hand gesture. You do that hand gesture in real life. In-game avatar does the same thing, and it activates that spell's one time per combat use. So it's kind of a rock, paper, scissor dynamic, but a bit more additional strategy thrown in. That is Unspoken for Oculus Touch. Last one, also an Oculus Touch title. This one, not a game, is called Medium, and it's an art program specifically about sculpting clay. So you can sculpt clay, different colors, textures, 3D, of course, in a virtual reality environment. The only real complaint leveled against it so far, and it is kind of a big one, is that there's no universal accepted virtual reality object that you can convert this to immediately from the program. Hopefully that's something that they're going to include. There are multiple tutorials, though, in the application, 10 beginner, 6 intermediate to advanced. So you have a good idea of what you're doing with this. And again, that's Medium for the Oculus Touch. So let's jump into the news. We finally have word from a phone manufacturer other than Google for Google Daydream View support. This time Motorola, who has posted on its blog that both their Moto Z and Moto Z Force will be Daydream compatible as of Android Nougat 7.0. The phone's $699.99 for the Moto Z, $720.99 US for the Moto Z Force. Daydream, of course, $79.99 US. Next news piece, DearVR, which is an audio engine in the Unity Asset Store designed to make VR sound better. Now, it comes with 45 virtual acoustic room presets, and there's several videos available. Some of the presets that are included, Live Arena. This one was a bit strange. Restroom. What's that supposed to sound like? Is it echoey? Because that's kind of what Concert Hall, which is also available, by the way, that's kind of the standard preset for sound cards is Concert Hall. Living room, small studio, and with headphones it gives you a good approximation of what the positional sound is going to sound like. DearVR engine available in the Unity Asset Store for $95 US. Tactical haptics, hoping to kind of address the difficulty with a lot of the haptic feedback items either being cumbersome or just not that practical. They hope to address both of those issues with their device. The prototype just acquiring an additional $749,000 in grants, this time from the National Science Foundation. That brings their total up to $2.2 million to further develop the project. And the device works, I've talked about this before, probably about 6-7 weeks ago, by applying in-hand shear force to replicate sensations that go along with items like bow and arrow, shooting a gun, or pulling a fish out of water, for example. Next news item, Canvas from Occipital scans. Occipital scans your entire home on the iPad. So this is a pretty cool device, and it requires a little bit of third-party gear to really fully utilize. There is a structure sensor, they call this, and it kind of looks like a Logitech webcam. It's a rectangular device. It'll be up on the picture. You mount that to the back of your iPad. They've also got a wide-angle lens, which you can mount over top of your existing camera socket. What this does is it captures thousands of measurements per second of your surroundings. So this is going to be used for people doing interior decorating, remodeling, renovations. It captures all of that and presents it in 3D. Now, there's an additional fee. You can have the 3D model that's created in the application Canvas converted to a fully CAD functioning application. So the idea behind this is that it's used, like I said, by those industries as a more affordable solution to manually entering it or much more expensive enterprise level software. So very cool. There's a link I've included below. Now, the conversion cost from the 3D object to CAD is basically $29 per room. So think of it this way. You've got a 3-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, living room, kitchen, 7 rooms, 7 times 29, roughly $210, and you get your CAD drawing out of that. The structure sensor that you place on the outside of the iPad, $380, no word on the wide angle lens piece that you add on, but I'd imagine it's going to be under the $380 of the structural sensor. I'm guessing $100 to $150 probably for that modification add-on. Next up, as I had suspected, and I kind of said this in the summer, I was fairly confident anyways, and this isn't an I told you so by any means, because most of you agreed that there would be some kind of discount. A few people didn't think there would be a discount, but sure enough, the first of the holiday season discounts from a major VR manufacturer has been announced. First one being from HTC Vive. So on Black Friday and Cyber Monday in the US, so that's November 25th and November 28th, they're going to be $100 cheaper. So $700 US for the full Vive package as opposed to $800. And stores that will be carrying that promo include Microsoft stores, Amazon, GameStop, Newegg, Micro Center, Vive.com, and for the first time probably ever for any kind of console that I can remember, all 34 Fry's electronic locations. So again, Vive, $100 off. So if you've been saving for a Vive, you've waited this long, perhaps you can wait a little bit longer, literally just a week from now, see if you can score one of these for $100 off. That's $100 in your pocket, gets you probably a handful of virtual reality games. Next up, Microsoft revealing additional details on the Windows 10 VR headset. So we knew they were $299. We knew they were going to be fairly low cost entry points for these units. What we didn't know is what the minimum spec requirements were going to be. Now, in December, of course, Microsoft is going to make an updated announcement. We're going to get a lot of additional details on these VR units. But for now, we have one important update, and that's coming to us from the latest test builds of Windows 10, which includes a Windows holographic first run application that lists the required specs to benchmark against for meeting those requirements. And they're pretty damn low. 4 gigabytes of RAM, a single USB 3.0 port, 4 CPU cores, or a dual core with hyper-threading, and a DirectX 12 capable graphic card. So that opens up the playing field a lot. Now, what's the performance going to be like on the low end? That's where you guys know I'm pretty always express caution until we find out a little bit more. I would say we should have a good idea coming out of December into 2017, what kind of a spec PC-wise you're going to need to pull this off satisfactorily. Because, look, entry-level is great and all, but a lot of times entry-level is just not going to be satisfactory. And to me, these are really low specs. So unless they can pull off a lot of magic, it's not that I'm suspect of these requirements. It's just that they're pretty damn low. I could build a real cheap-ass system with not much frame rate for 3D games that could pull those specs off, and I sure as hell wouldn't be confident running a Vive or Rift on that machine. But like I said, until we know, it's only speculation from the Microsoft camp. Can they pull it off? What exactly does entry level for one of these Microsoft VR devices mean? We know what it means on a Rift and a Vive, and certainly the Sony PlayStation. What does it mean for them? So we will find out as December, comes and goes. All right, guys, that is it for the news today. As always, cheers, and definitely catch you guys on the VR flip side.